All right, so you're thinking about a career in criminology. That's exciting. We're diving into how to ace those interview questions today using your RoleCatcher resources.
It's a field where you can really make a difference.
Definitely. And to help us unpack all of this, we have an expert joining us.
It's more than just getting the job, though. It's about showing them that you're ready to use your knowledge to make a real impact.
Love it. So no pressure, but this deep dive is all about getting you ready for that interview. RoleCatcher's Career Guide does a good job of breaking down what a criminologist actually does, and, well, it's not exactly like what you see on TV.
Yeah, no, you're not just analyzing crime scenes all day. It's more about understanding why crime happens in the first place.
So, like detective work, but instead of dusting for fingerprints?
You're looking at psychology, social factors, economic factors, the whole 9 yards to figure out what leads people to crime.
Right, like why does one person in a tough neighborhood thrive while someone else, well, ends up on a different path?
Exactly.
And RoleCatcher's Guide talks about the skills you need, and data analysis is huge E.
Absolutely. Criminologists rely on data, research, statistics, all of it to understand the problem and work towards solutions.
Okay, so it's not about just going with your gut.
No, not at all. But it doesn't mean you have to be a math whiz or anything. The key is being able to take that data, that research, and explain it in a way that anyone can understand.
So you need that balance of being analytical, but also being able to communicate those findings.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, RoleCatcher also has this awesome interview guide. It's got tons of sample questions. Are you up for tackling a few of these with me?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. So first up, what inspired you to pursue a career in criminology? Seems like a simple question, but I bet there's a right way and a wrong way to answer this.
Oh, absolutely. This is your chance to show them that you're not here for just any job. You're genuinely passionate about this field.
Okay, so it's kind of like, what's your origin story?
Exactly. What sparked that initial interest for you? And even more importantly, what keeps that fire burning?
So something generic like, I've always been fascinated by true crime, it's not going to cut it.
Probably not. You want to dig a little deeper than that. Was there a specific case, maybe a book you read, a personal experience that made you want to understand crime and the justice system? That's what they want to hear about.
Find that personal connection.
Yes.
What about, like, common pitfalls?
Yeah.
What should someone avoid saying when answering this question?
I would say a big one is don't be negative. Even if you were drawn to this field because of a difficult or a negative experience, try to focus on how that experience inspired you to make a positive impact.
So instead of saying, I was a victim of crime and it made me want to, put all criminals behind bars,
Yeah.
you could say.
Right, exactly. More like, that experience opened my eyes to the complexities of crime and fueled my passion for understanding the root causes and working towards prevention.
That's a much better way to frame it.
Yeah, it's about turning that experience into positive change.
Now, another question from RoleCatcher's interview guide. Can you describe your experience working in a research capacity? What if someone's just starting out? They don't have a ton of professional research experience.
Yeah.
What should they do?
That's totally fine. You can still answer that question. It's about showcasing any research skills that you developed, even in an academic setting.
So even if most of your research experience is from coursework, you can still make it relevant.
Exactly. Did you write a thesis? Analyze data for a research project? Think back to those experiences. Hiring managers look for transferable skills.
So instead of just listing research methods,
Tell a story. Like, in my senior thesis, I wanted to understand the link between social media and youth crime, so I designed a study, analyzed data from online platforms.
so you were already thinking like a criminologist.
Exactly, it shows initiative.
This is where I think a tool like RoleCatcher AI could be really helpful, right?
Absolutely, it's a game changer.
Because you can plug in your experience, even that thesis project, and it will help you tailor your answers to what employers are looking for.
It's like having a personalized career coach in your back pocket.
I love that. Okay, next question from RoleCatcher is, how do you stay current with developments in criminology and criminal justice?
So they're not just looking for someone who's read a textbook, right?
Definitely not. Criminology is constantly evolving. There's new research, new technologies, even social trends that all play a role. It's about being a lifelong learner.
So how do you show that?
Well, think about it. Are there specific journals you follow, conferences you've attended, maybe even influential criminologists that you follow online or engage with on social media? Mention those.
Oh, that's smart. So instead of just saying, I read the news, you could say,
Exactly. Something like, I subscribe to criminology and public policy to stay on top of policy debates, and I also follow Dr. Name on social media because their work on restorative justice is really shaping my thinking. See, it's about being specific.
Show them you're plugged into the criminology world. Exactly, yeah. You want them to know that you're not just like on the sidelines, you're in the game, you know? And speaking of staying current, those skills and knowledge sections in RoleCatcher are super helpful.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they basically lay out what employers are looking for.
Yeah.
So you can really tailor your answer. It's almost like having a...
A cheat sheet.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Can you give me an example of a time you had to analyze a problem and develop a solution? This one feels like such a classic across so many different fields.
It's a classic for a reason, right? But you're not just building a spreadsheet here. They want to see that you can think like a criminologist.
Okay, so less about that time I reorganized my pantry to be more efficient.
Right. Although efficiency is good.
True.
But think about a time that you saw a situation, maybe even just in your own life, and you thought, I feel like this could have been prevented if, like you analyzed a case study and thought, what if they had tried this? Or what if they had looked at it from this angle?
So demonstrating those problem-solving skills, even if you haven't had a ton of formal work experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
And when you're describing your example, try to use the STAR method.
STAR method. Remind me what that is again.
Yeah, so it's situation, task, action, result.
Okay.
And it just helps you tell the story in a clear, structured way.
A good story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Exactly.
So like with that vandalism scenario, you could say.
Right. Like I noticed all this graffiti popping up around my neighborhood and it seemed kind of random, but I started keeping track of where it was happening, what kind of tags, what time of day, and I realized it was clustered around this new construction site with really bad lighting. So I took my findings to the community board, I presented my findings and some potential solutions, and they actually implemented some of my suggestions.
Look at you, thinking like a criminologist. Okay. This next one from the RoleCatcher guide always throws me off a little bit. What are your salary expectations?
The salary question. Always a tough one.
Yeah, because you don't want to undervalue yourself, but you also don't want to just price yourself out.
Exactly.
So what do you do?
Well, first of all, do your research. Use websites like Glassdoor, salary.com, see what other people in similar roles are making. Location matters, experience matters, even the specific industry.
So you're not just throwing a number out there.
Right, exactly. And when you're answering, be confident but flexible. You could say something like, well, based on my research and experience for a position with these qualifications, I'm targeting a salary range of your range here. But of course, I'm open to discussing it further based on the specific responsibilities.
That's good. So much better than just blurting out a number.
Yeah. And this actually ties back to what we were talking about earlier with the emotional demands of the job.
Oh, right. Because long hours and tense situations, those things might factor into what you need to feel valued in a role.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question from RoleCatcher, and this one's a big one. What do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing the field of criminology today?
It's a question that really makes you think. They want to see that you're invested in the future of the field.
And RoleCatcher makes a good point. Criminology is always changing.
Always. Yeah.
You have new types of crime plopping up. Technology is changing everything.
Constantly. The social and political landscape, it's all in flux.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so think about those big picture challenges. What keeps you up at night? Is it cybercrime? Systemic racism in the justice system? The ethics of surveillance technology? Pick something and really articulate your reasoning.
So you're not just reciting headlines, you're really thinking about these issues.
Right. Don't be afraid to connect it to your own interests and experiences.
Okay, so for example,
You could say, I'm really concerned about the rise of cybercrime, particularly its impact on vulnerable communities, because it's not just about recovering data, it's about understanding the social consequences, something like that.
it shows you understand that real people are affected.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, this next question from RoleCatcher's guide feels really relevant, especially today. Can you describe your experience working with diverse communities?
So important, because criminology, well, it's not a one-size-fits-all field, right?
Yeah.
You need to understand the challenges and experiences of different groups of people.
And RoleCatcher's guide really emphasizes cultural competency,
Yes.
empathy, being able to connect with people from all walks of life.
Absolutely. Those are essential skills. And, even if you don't have tons of formal work experience, think about any time that you've interacted with people from different backgrounds, whether it was through volunteering or your community, even just personal experiences.
So something like volunteering at a food bank or um, mentoring a student, that could be relevant here.
Totally. It's about showing that you're a good listener.
So instead of just saying, I'm open-minded, you could say,
Right, give an example. During my time at the community center, I worked with families from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and it really opened my eyes to how poverty and lack of opportunity can lead to a cycle of crime. And it taught me how important it is to build trust.
it shows you're not just talking the talk.
Right, you're walking the walk.
And this feels like another place where RoleCatcher's AI feedback could be really helpful
Oh, absolutely.
because I could put in my answer and it would help me make sure I'm tailoring it to that specific organization.
Yeah, it's like having a personalized editor who knows exactly what that employer is looking for.
I like that. Ready for one more question from RoleCatcher?
Happy with it.
Okay, so this next question from RoleCatcher, it really feels like they're putting you in the hot seat. It says, how would you approach working with a community that's experienced a high rate of crime? So it's one thing to talk about it in theory, but how do you actually put those skills to work in the real world?
It's about showing them that you're not just going to hide behind a desk and crunch numbers all day. You're ready to get out there and work with people who are directly affected.
Yeah, because those crime stats, those are real lives.
Exactly. And chances are they've seen people come and go, promising solutions. So you need to show them that you're there to listen first.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, you could say something like, my first step would be to meet with the people who live and work there, community members, faith leaders, business owners, really anyone who's been impacted. I want to understand their concerns firsthand, not just rely on reports.
So like 2 ears, 1 mouth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And once you've really listened, and I mean really listened, then you can start talking about taking action.
Like what would that look like?
Well, you could say, once I have a better understanding of their priorities, I would work with residents and local organizations, law enforcement, to develop a strategy.
So it's about collaboration, not just coming in with all the answers.
Right. And you could even give some specific examples. This might involve things like community policing initiatives, youth outreach programs, maybe even looking at environmental design changes to help improve safety.
So you're showing them that you're thinking about all the different factors that contribute to crime.
Exactly. It's not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
And this is where that deep understanding of criminology theory really comes into play. Because I bet you'd get follow-up questions like, okay, but what theories are you using to inform your approach?
Oh, absolutely. Be ready to talk about social disorganization theory, broken windows theory, all of that good stuff.
Right, and you're not just rattling off these terms, you're showing how they connect to the real world.
Exactly. Like, social disorganization theory suggests that crime is more likely in communities with weak social bonds. So strengthening those bonds through things like community policing and youth programs, that could be a good place to start.
And again, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these answers.
Yes, such a good tool for that. All right, you ready for one last question from the RoleCatcher guide? This one's a big one.
Hit me.
Okay, so if you could change one thing about the criminal justice system, what would it be and why?
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that's a big one. It's almost like they're asking you to sum up your whole philosophy on crime and justice in one answer.
It's definitely a question that makes you think. They want to see that you're passionate about this work, that you care about justice.
And that you're not afraid to challenge the status quo. Because, like we were talking about earlier, criminology is not static. It's constantly changing, evolving as we learn more.
Absolutely. So pick something that you're genuinely passionate about and don't be afraid to take a stand. Maybe you're really concerned about mandatory minimum sentencing laws, the school-to-prison pipeline, the lack of mental health resources in prisons, whatever it is. Explain your reasoning.
Connect it back to that bigger picture of creating a more just and equitable society.
Yeah.
So you could say, I'm deeply concerned by the number of minority youth caught in the juvenile justice system. I believe we need to be investing in early intervention, restorative justice approaches, and really addressing those systemic inequalities that are contributing to these disparities.
Exactly. Show them that you're not just here to get a job, you're here to make a difference.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we covered so much ground today. We talked about the skills you need to succeed, the challenges you'll face, and the incredible rewards of pursuing a career in this field.
And don't forget all those amazing tools that RoleCatcher offers. Use them.
Yes. Their career guide, their interview guide, the AI feedback tool. It's like having a whole team of career coaches in your back pocket.
And one last thing I would say is let your passion shine through.
Oh, absolutely, because this isn't just a job, right? It's a calling.
Exactly.
So go out there, embrace the challenges, never stop learning, and use your knowledge to make the world a better place. And with that, we'll wrap up our deep dive on criminology. Good luck out there.